A leader has to take the risks. All right, so Michael Gerardi, man. I mean, you are the man. Next generation. Is that kind of like? How'd you come up with the name Next Generation? What was the? Did you have a parent involved in the business or anything, or it was just Next Generation?
Next gen, man. We're Gen Z, so we gotta step it up with social media. That was my whole thing. And you know my story a little bit, so everything I
Mhm.
do is social media. So I thought that went hand in hand.
And so, at what point was it for you where you said, "Man, I want to go into coaching. I want to go build something. I want to help people get to that next level"?
So I started off with fitness coaching, and the fitness coaching took me, two and a half years, and then eventually I said, "Hey, I'm doing pretty well in business, and I think there's more upside to getting financially where I want to be." And so I transitioned into helping fitness coaches build their business, charge a lot more, still helping people, and so I have the best of both worlds at this point.
And were you always like involved in fitness and working out? And is that kind of been a part of your whole life?
Yeah. So like every kid, I thought I was going to play in the MLB, and I was working out for that. Got an injury, went through physical therapy for a year and a half, and I wanted to be a physical therapist for my whole life. So I was always into working out and fitness. And as I'm going through physical therapy school, long story short, I decided it's not the route for me. I think entrepreneurship is the route.
And what do you like, most about being an entrepreneur? What is it?
Freedom. You can do what you want. You don't answer to anybody, and you can kind of set your target. Do you want to make $1 million business? Are you happy at 100K a year? Do you want $1 billion business? It's kind of in your hands.
And were you always that kid trying to start new businesses, motivated? You always wanted to make more money. I mean, was that you?
Yeah, I was the kid with the lemonade stand, the Kool-Aid stand, selling cookies outside. Had wrestlers. I was hustling my friends for changing their wrestlers, selling baseball cards on eBay. So I was always doing the thing, selling sneakers. And so I think it's always been in me.
Yeah, I think me and you will probably get along really, really well because I think everything you've just described is me. So,
Yeah.
including the part with the baseball. All right, I was going to college and I hurt my knee in baseball, and I mean I don't think I was ever going to go MLB, but I was playing for college and I hurt myself pretty bad. And the sad thing about it is I actually hurt it in basketball officiating
Mm.
class. So
Oh,
that was like the worst. We were
yeah.
just a layup, man. Went and crunched it, and my baseball career was over. And so, looking back, I mean, was it hard to start your own business? I mean, what challenges did you have kind of in that process?
So I started my business with no motivation to make money. So this is just the way I thought. So started my Instagram one day. I was like, hey, I'm just going to post free content. I'm going to build a brand for when I'm ready to graduate college. I'll have my own physical therapy clinic, and I'll already be the guy after posting for free for the last 4 years after I graduate. So, giving value without actually realizing what I'm doing. I was just trying to build a brand. So that way, when I was ready to start selling, quote unquote, then people would just kind of flock to me. And so expedited a little bit. People started asking me, can I buy a plan? Can I do this? And so I said, hey, might as well start now if people are wanting to buy now. And so I
And
don't
and
think, to answer your question, a challenge. I just did it for fun. I don't think it was a challenge getting started. I think the challenge is now where I'm at in business now is like building a team, being a leader, stepping into a CEO role. Those are like the hard things.
and what's been that challenge now in just attracting the clients? I mean, because you have a pretty good social media following. Has that been a challenge at all? I mean, continually posting all the time and
Mhm.
working your brand, working your social media. I mean, what's the good and bad of all that?
Good side is I'd much rather be posting than laying bricks outside doing construction in 90 degrees. So it's not like a challenge in that sense. The challenge is it, and I caution to say challenge. I say it's almost like a game with yourself is that, yeah, the next goal is 1 million a month, but it's the pursuit of that makes it fun. So, I love doing what I do every day. So I don't say that it's necessarily a challenge. Everyone can always use more leads, the more the merrier. But at some certain point, you have to think bigger, and why are you doing this? The people you're helping, your future family that you're going to be providing for, all that kind of stuff is what kind of keeps me going, and I just enjoy it day to day.
And the advice that you would give like a new entrepreneur that's kind of just starting out, just trying to get his thing going, trying to build something, maybe even some advice about social media, what could you offer?
Yeah, if you're new, never sold anything before, just give away the farm at first and provide value. And people, if you provide enough value, will just want to buy from you after. They'll tell their friend, they'll tell their friend, and before you know it, you have a good little foundation, a client base. So I think lead with value. Don't try to have every conversation or relationship you try to build be transactional. Just get to know people, be a good person, and solve people's problems.
And where'd you learn that from, man? Because a lot of people don't think like that. So did you learn it from somebody?
People say it right over and over again. So like I listen to podcasts like this one, and I do a lot of my own research, but entrepreneurship, you continuously grow. So you're never done growing. I'm sure you can relate. And in the beginning, I just saw everyone as like a dollar sign because you're making the money, it's fun, it's all this, all that, but it didn't kind of resonate with me, and I didn't get fulfillment. At a certain point, you make enough money where it's like, okay, anything else now is just excess, and it's more so about the value that you bring to people. And I found that people resonate with me more when I'm more of a personable person and don't just see them as a value, a dollar sign.
And so just the relationship value, I mean, kind of that whole how to win friends and influence people. I'm sure you've read that book. I mean, it sounds like the approach. And then the Gary V jab, jab, right hook, it's kind of these core principles that we're starting to learn, especially like on social media. Social media is new for a lot of people. They haven't been doing it very long. And so, I think that a lot of people, they're getting it wrong because they're just, screenshotting somebody else's quote, and then they're putting it on their page, and then they're just doing that again and again and again. And they don't realize that they have value. People have value. The people that are watching right now, like, stuff that other people don't know. And they need to start to really dissect what it is that they really love and are good at and want to teach. And they just need to teach it. And over and over and over again, give the information away. Because ultimately what happened, I think, to you, Michael, is that you became the expert. That's why people follow you. That's why people want to do business with you, is because they perceive you as being the expert. Now, there's a lot of people that know what you know, and there's a lot of people that know exactly what you know. But you're the only one that's giving away that information for free. And ultimately, when they do want to execute the play, most people want a coach to help them like run through that play. I mean, I do financial services. So people watch me and they go, oh, that's great. He makes a lot of money and he's got a great business and passive income, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, but how do I do it? Well, I've been teaching you how to do it every single day for the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But they go, I need somebody to hold my hand. Am I on to something here? Do you kind of get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, man. Especially in the fitness realm of things, right? Like if you wanted to be jacked within the next 60, 90 days, 6 months, you have all the information that you need on YouTube for free, and it's not going to cost you a penny. But with people, but people are still overweight, still unhappy in their body. Half the population is obese. So what is the disconnect there? And like you said, it's the execution, and I use the word implementation. Same thing. How can I implement this into my lifestyle with 3 kids, working 2 jobs, and having to walk a dog every day? So it's one thing to know that you need to eat less calories and move more, but it's another thing on how can you do it while with your busy lifestyle, because everyone's different in their own unique way.
Yeah, I remember talking to one of my mentors early on, and I asked him, I said, what's the most important thing that you need to win in business? And he said, accountability. So accountability is everything, because I mean, yeah, you could go to the gym. Anybody can go to the gym. You got to get in your car and just go to the gym. When you have somebody waiting for you there at the gym, you're more inclined to go to the gym because you don't want to look like a jackass, making the guy wait for you at the gym, right? You're going to go. You're like, hey, honey, I know I got to do the dishes, but I got to get to the gym because my trainer is waiting for me right now. So I think that accountability, same thing with my type of business. I mean, a lot of people get started with us on a part-time basis, and of course, they have other jobs, and so they're if they're not accountable to somebody, if they're not consistently in the game, they'll forget about it very easily, and they won't do it, and they'll end up not hitting their goals like they originally wanted to. So a coach, somebody to help you through a process, is incredibly important. And so when you is there certain things, because I know you talk a lot about like high ticket items, and you teach coaches how to sell high ticket items. Explain that to me. What does that mean?
So high ticket is kind of a general frame, but I say really anything $1,500 and up that your average Joe would say that's a sizable investment, would be considered high ticket. And so it's one thing selling a package for 2 personal training sessions that are $50 each, that total is 100. It's another thing selling a $3,000 program across a span of 3 months and getting someone to buy into your process and invest that much money with you. And same thing for business consulting. Hey, like I'm going to make this sizable investment, and I hope that I can make the money back within the time frame. So high ticket, really 1,500 and up is what I say over 3, 6, 12-month span.
So give us a couple of ideas. I mean, for somebody that doesn't understand sales, maybe they're new in sales, they're trying to learn sales, or trying to get great at sales. What are some of the things that you've learned as far as psychologically to get more people to say yes?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So I think so I'm thinking of day one me versus right now. I think the biggest thing I had to do was listen. I was kind of putting words in people's mouths and not doing a very good job of listening. And I just wanted to talk. Sales, I call it service calls. It's all about listening to what the prospect needs and what they're telling you. And can you ethically provide them quality service that's going to take them from A to Z? And you don't know that if you're just talking the whole time. The second thing I really learned was from Jordan Belfort, sales school, was tonality and kind of matching the tonality. So I use this as an example. If you're speaking to like a Tony Soprano kind of guy, and he's talking in that, that way that Tony Soprano talks, your guy from Staten Island, New York, you can kind of get in that mode with him, right? Shoot the crap, if you will, talk like an Italian American. Make sure that he kind of sees a reflection of himself. It'll be much easier to be relatable to that person and get buy-in from them on the other side of the call.
Good advice, man. I like that. Tony Robbins called it mirroring.
Yes.
And so that's really cool. You talk about money messaging a lot. What does that mean?
So essentially getting down in the DMs is what I say. So money messaging, basically taking someone that just followed you into building a relationship with them. So what I used to do, for example, we touched upon this, just not seeing it as a transaction, was like, hey, Dan, thanks for the follow. I have this package, and this package. Which are you interested in? Instead of, hey, Dan, where are you from? Thanks for the follow and support. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you, or what goals that you may need some help with. And so it's taking a new follower into somebody that you can solve a problem for, and have them essentially foaming at the mouth, wanting more information about your services at the end of that messaging conversation, which then would lead into the sales call.
So how important is like getting down into those DMs? Because I mean, people post on social media all the time. Now, I think they forget that there's a whole nother step, and the whole nother step is engagement and building relationships with these people. Because I mean, it's a whole new world. Let's be honest, right? I've been in business for over 25 years, man. I mean, this is a whole new world where most of us are used to building human relationships. Meet somebody at the coffee shop, you meet somebody, for dinner or breakfast, or you do a whatever. Now we're doing Zooms. You're doing Zoom calls and you're building relationships off of Zoom. You're, like we were talking about before, you're providing a lot of value to people online. Now, the next step, though, is really that engagement and that creating that relationship with these people. So how important is it to engage with your audience?
So much. Like I was talking to someone on the other, on Zoom the other day, and they have million something followers, and I'm asking where they're at in business and just trying to kind of see where they're at and how I can help. And I was shocked. She goes, I'm making about $3,000 a month. And like my jaw dropped. I'm like, holy moly, you're making $3,000 a month. You have millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of likes on your stuff. That's someone who just has a bunch of eyeballs, but doesn't know how to turn eyeballs into clients. And so that's like a prime example of just posting and not having the businessy side of it. I also know people with 2,000 followers that are making well over 5 figures a month, right? So it's building trust in the sense of, yeah, someone comes and views your page, but they're never going to reach out to you for help. So it's about building a community around your supporters, I think, is the most important part of having social media.
And the future of online sales coaching, I mean, is this something that you think is here to stay? It's not going anywhere. I mean, do you think we're going to be using Zoom forever? Or do you think we're going to be using this technology, social media? You think it's really going away?
I don't think it's going anywhere, man, especially with AI. I mean, people are inherently lazy. So if I can talk to you and not have to fly to Newport, this is a much easier way to do it, and much more efficient. Not to say that this should ever replace the coffee shops and that kind of stuff, because I think obviously human to human interaction has its place and is amazing. I just think more efficiently, for efficient reasons, Zoom and this social media is just going to help businesses grow and grow, especially as more and more AI gets rolled out.
And I mean, what are you doing to how are you implementing and using AI right now?
So I have some like sequences and workflows that go out that AI uses. Some of my messaging is AI until you get to a certain point, and then I'll step in. So it's really taking a lot of the front end off of me and my clients and a lot of other business owners. For people, those prospects who are just kind of lukewarm until they get warm, then you can kind of step in. So it's saving a lot of time and aggravation, at least in what I'm teaching and what I'm using.
And the haters, man, I mean, you get any haters out there on social media? I mean, any of that?
If you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, is what I say, man. So if you go to my comment section once every other video, there's some haters on there, but I love it because it drives the algorithm up, and the people who love me. If you don't, you don't. You can't please everyone.
And did you always have that attitude, or was it something you had to learn to create?
Yeah. So in the beginning, if I got this exercise is dumb comment, like it would shut me down for a day. I'm like, dang, like, should I take the video down? But as you just get numb to it, man, as I'm sure you can, understand. And there's always going to be haters. LeBron James, probably best basketball player in the world, has haters. David Ortiz, Red Sox player, haters. It's always going to be the haters, but you just gotta put yourself in their shoes, almost feel bad for them, and wish them luck, I guess.
Well, I who I feel bad for is I feel bad for all of the people that their whole life they've been taking everything personal. And I think it's almost like a disease. People care way too much about what other people think about them. They're literally they're wasting their lives away. They're missing out on so many opportunities, so much money, so many chances to get free. They're missing out because they're worried about what. I mean, I have a coaching program that I do, Wealth on the Beach Club, every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I was coaching this, our guys this morning and gals this morning, and I was talking about how, like, literally every time we allow somebody to offend us, we allow somebody to shut us down, we allow somebody to take us out of our game, because we're worried about their comment, or we're worried about how they're going to feel about us. It's interesting because, I've done a lot of stages throughout all of these years, and I've spoken in front of, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people live. And it's interesting because when I would say things that would make the crowd laugh at me, or maybe some sort of humor, like putting myself down, they would laugh at me more. It would be way more authentic, and they would actually like me more. And so what people are doing on social media, they're so afraid of saying the wrong thing, they never say anything. They're so afraid of offending somebody, they never offend anybody, and they never really get anybody to communicate with them. So ultimately, they're always at a standstill. So any thoughts on that? Am I clear on that?
Yeah. So like 2 points. Gary Vee said this: if they can build you up, they can tear you down. So if you care what other people think, and if someone says, "Wow, you're an amazing coach, you're the best in the world," and that inflates your ego, the next person that comes and says you're the worst coach in the world is going to drop you down, and then you get imposter syndrome. So you kind of got to block out the noise and just stay true to yourself. And like I said, to your second point, you can't please everyone. If you try to please everyone, you're going to end up a very sad person yourself and untrue to yourself. So, let the people who don't resonate you leave, and the people who do resonate with you stay. And that's ultimately going to be better for you, your mental health, your business, because those are the people you want to sell to and can resonate with you, and they're going to be better clients versus the other people who just, for whatever reason, either don't match your coaching style, don't have the same views as you, or whatever it is. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but not every coach is for everybody.
Yeah, nobody is for everybody. And I always say that, like, look, if you can get 51% of the people to like you, you're in good shape. You win the election ultimately if you got 51 people. There's always going to be people that aren't going to like your style. They're not going to like you personally. They're not going to like the sound of your voice. They're going to find something that they don't like about you. That's okay, right? You just keep moving forward, because the truth is there's 330 million people in the United States. Man, if you could find 100,000 people to like you, you'll make millions and millions of dollars. Out of 330 million people, if you could just get a small, tiny percent of those people to, want to get on your bandwagon and be a part of what you're doing, the options for you are limitless. And so when you think about, those new entrepreneurs, Michael, and the challenges that they're having, how would you coach somebody if somebody, let's say, is kind of, they're trying right now, they're not making money, they're struggling in their business? What are some things that like, how do you guide them? Like, what's your process of like figuring out what you can recommend to them to get them to that next level?
Yeah. So I guess, at every level of business, you have constraints, right? So start at the top of funnel, and aside from like, worrying about what people think and that kind of stuff, like actual business, why is your business not succeeding? For me, I do everything organic. So no ads, all social media. So that's what I speak on. And so at top of funnel, it's content. Is your content resonating with the person that you want to see it? If you're getting the right amount of followers, and then the next step is your messaging. Are you getting sales calls booked from your messaging? If not, then something is wrong with the script, or something is wrong in your opening message, or something along the line of that script. You're going wrong. If that's not an issue and you're booking calls, then and your close rate's 10%, then you probably need to better your sales game. If you're getting sales, but then nobody is retaining, and you have a high churn, then your product probably is not good enough. And so you need to do a better job at building your product. So there's all these different, pillars and stages depending on where you're at and what you're having the most struggle with. You just go to the top of funnel and work down and see where you can improve, or where the leaky faucet is, if you will.
I'm kind of curious. We're going to get back to that right now, but I'm kind of curious. What was your childhood like? Like, what did your parents do, and what was their story? And because obviously they raised a pretty good kid, and you seem like you've been highly motivated for a long, long time. Like, did your parents give some of that to you, or where'd that come from, man?
So my mom did work, but once she had, us, she stayed at home mom for about 15 years and then got a job, after we were all raised and off in high school and that kind of stuff. So I think that has a big role in all of kind of how we grew up, is that if you are a mom, if you're a parent and you have the luxury of staying home with your kids, because you can have a breadwinner of a partner, then I think it's worth you raising your own kids. That's just, again, my opinion. And then my dad owns a construction company. He was working like a dog, always the best work ethic that I've ever seen in a man, and provided for his family. So I think I was raised by a very strong woman with good family values, and also raised by a man with great work ethic that also, cared for his family.
So it was a good solid upbringing, man. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, but it's a good example of what is created when you have that type of, family, right? I mean, if you're, mom and dad taking care of their kids well, and bringing them up in a good solid environment of work ethic. And it's not like your dad was this victim mentality guy, and I got to sit home and take money off the system. And I mean, there's so many people these days. I mean, I think that kind of the climate in the world right now is let's mooch off the system as much as we can. Let's get the government to pay for everything for us. Everybody wants free college, everybody wants free healthcare, everybody wants free, more minimum wage, everybody wants everything's free or more from the government for them to do as least as humanly possible. And I think that that's the parents that are doing that, they don't realize it, but they're literally creating another generation of that. And your parents are a perfect example of what you create. Because look, let's be honest, man. I mean, you work incredibly hard. I know you do, because I know what you do, and it's not easy. Yes, it's better than laying brick, like you said, man. I mean, my father was in construction as well. He's a contractor. So I have two fathers. One worked more in corporate, and then one was a construction worker. But I used to go to work with them, man, when I was young, and we used to put on baseboards and do all kinds of shit, man. I mean, I'm sure your dad had you work with him too for some period of time, and or maybe from time to time. But I remember, man, sweating, and I remember not liking that. And I always told myself, man, there ain't no way that I'm going to be in this kind of work. I'm going to go do something with my brain, do something with my voice. I'm going to do something where I can be in somewhere where it's air conditioning. That was what I wanted to do. But do you kind of see that though, that culture right now, young people, I don't know where they're getting it from, but they're just wanting everything free, man.
Yeah, and it's never free. The government may give it to you, but you're paying in one way or the other. And the more power that they have, the more strings attached to you as a puppet that they have as well. So it's never really free. It seems like it, but you're paying in one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the instant gratification of Instagram and seeing all these kids make 10K a month and 5K and all these quick wins. I feel like everyone's just out there for the quick grab, and no one wants to build a legacy. No one wants to, build something from the ground up that's really good at the foundation and changing lives. I feel like if you're out there and listening to this, don't go after the quick money, because the quick money is going to go away. Build a skill, get really good at it, provide value, and focus on long-term legacy instead of just short-term money right now.
Yeah, I love that you talk about long-term legacy, because that was always my focus, is I wanted to build something with a solid foundation. I mean, even though I kind of won pretty quick, I mean, it was over a course of about 8 years, I got financially independent. But I mean, I kept working, of course. I never completely retired. I just kind of, settled down a little bit. But I look back and I go, man, it was always about that foundation. I wanted something solid that can generate a lot of passive income. So if I wanted to work, I can work. If I don't want to work, I don't have to work. I wanted that constant flow of income coming in. whether, again, whether I'm working or not. I mean, that was always my dream. And then of course, for my kids, I wanted a foundation that was going to provide for them forever as well. If they, of course, I want them to work and have their own life and do whatever they want to do, but I wanted that financial security. I wanted to make sure that if God forbid something were to happen, my mom, she's been running my books for 20 years now, and my mom is an amazing human being. She's an amazing mother. I don't know what I'd do without her, because when you have somebody dealing with your money that loves you, like that you can trust, is like so valuable, right? Because you got so many, idiots out there that, they'll figure out a way to steal from you some way, somehow. And so I'm really, really blessed and lucky. But I remember she used to look at my accounts, and she used to say, like, why do you save so much? Like, why are you always investing so much? And why are you always putting so much money away? And I said, well, because I want to make sure that everything's always okay, right? I could buy Ferraris, I could go buy bigger homes, I could go buy, more flashier clothes. I said, but I'm interested in the long game. I'm interested in financial security for my family. Like, I want to make sure that we are solid. And I'm also wanting to make sure that if God forbid somebody gets sick, God forbid somebody needs something, I can cut a check, and it's interesting because maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, we had a family friend, he had a kind of a medical situation, no insurance. He was kind of on drugs and did some things, but it was a close family member, and he needed a check, man, a big check, and to like literally save his life. And I was able to cut a check for that to, and today his whole life has changed around. I mean, his health is, perfect today. He was only like, I think maybe 35 years old anyway. So he's a young person, and for him to be in that situation and for his whole life to change because, I mean, it wasn't a crazy, I mean, it was 50 grand, but to write one check for 50,000, most people couldn't do that. And for us to be able to do that, to take care of a family member in need, looking back, that's why I did it. That's why I got financially independent. That's why I invested my money wisely. That's why I made good financial choices. And it's been a good thing. So, I mean, as far as like saving money and investing money, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're doing all that. How important is that in the long game for you?
Oh, it's everything, man. Like I said, my whole driver, I have my dream scenario of when I have a family and kind of what I want to happen, where I want to live, how I want to live, making sure my kids are okay. So like yourself, I'm not into the flat. Like I could very well and go out and buy the flashy stuff. I just doesn't really satisfy me much. So I'm kind of stacking up for what I know will satisfy me is, my little white picket fence house and with my family, and my kids are able to do whatever they want, play the sports they want, travel, live a good quality life, have a good upbringing. That's what, my prize is. And, I make my investments and, money's growing. If you have cash in the bank, it's dying.
Totally, man. Get it invested. Get it invested. Make sure you have emergency funds, but definitely get it invested for sure. I think that you're one of those examples of somebody that's hugely disciplined. Did you get your discipline from being an athlete? Is that where you got that from?
That's a great question, man. Like I think I do have like a sense of discipline that not a lot of people, especially my age, have. And I don't know where it came from or how I got it, but I just know I'm one of the most disciplined, people that there are in all walks of life. Like if I'm exhausted and I didn't make it to the gym, like I will go with one eye open to the gym because I told myself I'm gonna do it. That's just how I've grown up. That's just how I've always been. And maybe it is something with sports, but even when I was 14 years old, thinking I was going to be in the MLB, like when I needed to get to the gym 3 times a week to do 400-pound squats, like I was going and there was nothing that was stopping me. So once I have my eyes on the target, that's what it is. So that's a good point. Maybe it was sports, but I can't pinpoint it other than that.
So what does your day look like? I mean, what's an average day for you, man?
Well, since moving to Florida, I don't know if you know this, but the sun rises a little bit later, so it's about an hour behind. So I used to be like a 6 a.m. wake up person when I lived back in Boston, and because I trained clients that early in the morning. But since then, alarm goes off probably at 7. I have a couple in-person clients just to get me out of the house and socialize, like we were talking about, like the human-to-human in-person interaction. So that ends at about 11 a.m. And then I'm in front of a computer doing sales calls, checking in on online clients, um, and just posting on social media. And that's about it to this point, man. I'll take a bike ride in the middle of the day, go grab an acai bowl at the beach. Um, but yeah, that's the flexibility that you have as an entrepreneur, is to be able to do that stuff, which is great. But I've also been on the other side of it where I thought I didn't want to do anything. Business runs by itself and I'll be happy, but you just feel so unfulfilled if you're not doing anything. I don't know if you've ever been in that position, but I know that that's not the road I want to go down, just from experience.
Well, I mean, at some point you'll be in that point where you just do whatever you want to do, and that's, because you're at some point you will have that passive income that's never stops,
Right.
and so yeah, life is really, really good when you get your money right and when you have a lot of passive income. I mean, that's definitely, and that's why I do what I do. I mean, that's why I have a podcast. That's why I'm an author now. That's why I still speak. I'm actually doing a little event tonight. I'm constantly trying to fill the white space.
Mm-hmm.
But what's cool about it, I mean, when you get it right, I mean, you're filling the white space because it's progress. And really, happiness comes from progress. That is happiness. It's when you make progress. It's not because I made an extra $10,000 today. That's not, like, that doesn't make you happy. It's just digits in a computer screen. What
Mm-hmm.
really makes you happy is you go, okay, I built something that created that. Like, I built something that's why these things are happening. And could I do more? Right. I mean, I literally, I'm publishing my first coloring book. So I took
Mm-hmm.
my Wealth on the Beach book and I turned it into an actual coloring book. And I took all the principles and have really elaborate, detailed, cool pictures in there that kind of illustrate what I'm trying to get across inside the book. And it's just kind of it's more of an adult coloring book,
Yeah.
because we talk about principles, law of attraction, and sales, and lifting up people, and generational wealth, and we talk about that kind of stuff in the coloring book. But it's kind of a neat thing. That's why I do it, is because you're right. You don't ever want to not do anything. Now, granted, on the other side of that is, if you feel like taking a trip, then you take a trip. Next week, I'm going to Bali, Philippines, and Australia just because I want to. I've never been there before. So I'm like, all right, man, let's take, 3 weeks and let's just go travel wherever and do whatever I want to do and see everything that I've always wanted to see, and, scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef, and do big swings in Bali and all kinds of stuff. So again, that's the beauty of why I've spent the last 25 years of my life trying to get people to see that freedom, choices, and options, if you do it right, could be incredibly fulfilling, as a life. So, what's your, I mean, do you have any dream locations, places that you want to travel, things that you want to do that's kind of on that bucket list?
Yeah, man. So speaking of, like, you going on that 3 week trip for the last 4 years now, I've wanted to go to Italy. So girlfriend and I, who works for me as well, going to Italy for 3 months this summer, just moving out of the apartment and living in Italy for 3 months. And being an online coach, like, that's what it allows you to do. And yeah, you have a few extra expenses, but that's fine because you prepared for it. And so I've been disciplined enough to save up for it and set myself up to be in a position to do so. So I am so excited to get in the culture there.
That's awesome, man. That's fun, man. That's
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff, like, that's living, right? And
Yeah.
that is ultimately, that's selling the dream, man, for everybody to see that you can do that kind of stuff. I mean, to have an online business, to have a business that you can work with people through Zoom wherever you want around the world. What a cool thing, man. There ain't no way anybody could ever get me to be in a cubicle. It just could never happen, man. I mean, because there's just life is too much fun, and there's just too much, there's just too much to see and too much to do. So you got this thing down, man. I mean, any other last thoughts as we kind of close this out, man? Anything that you want to share with people, how they get a hold of you, what kind of other value that you might be able to bring to their life, anything else that you want to get across to our audience, man? Throw it out there. You got as long as you want, man. Tell us.
Cool. Yeah. I think if you're feeling a little bit of resistance, if you're looking to get into the online world, not sure how to navigate it, not sure what people will think of your content or anything of that landscape. If you feel resistance, it's probably a good thing, and go do it. Try to block out the noise. As an online coach, I have some free stuff that you guys can take a look at. I kind of give you my viral Rails framework on how I post my content, and then a little Facebook group strategy. So if you're interested in generating more leads through Instagram, Facebook without having to pay for ads, my website is coach.gerardiperformance.com, and it's /podcast-gifts, completely free. If you're listening to this, go to there. And I give you guys everything that I know about content creation and social media. So just got to do it, rip the Band-Aid off, and go all in.
And how do we get in touch with you? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Michael Gerardi. So GERARD as in dog I, and then an underscore. So Michael Gerardi _. If you have any questions, definitely DM me. We'd be happy to chat with you and help any way I can.
Awesome, man. Well, you're rocking, man. I hope that everybody, as always, make sure that if you're listening, watching, make sure you hit them up, and, just send them a DM and just go, hey, dude, thanks for coming on Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo. And I love to know more about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I mean, there's just so many people, man, they need guidance, man. I cringe sometimes watching people's social media, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, literally, what are you doing? And showing pictures of your dog every day is not going to get you more business. I promise you. And I just think that people are messing this thing up big time. And, somebody like you maybe can give them some guidance, right? Put them in the right direction, show them the ins and the outs. And, even if they took advantage of some of your free stuff, man, I mean, I think that there's a relationship that could be created from that. So reach out, say what's up, see how he might be able to help you out. So, and with that said, look, if anybody wants to know more about how I did what I did, make sure you go out and get my book. It's called Wealth on the Beach, and get it on Amazon. We'll have the coloring book out. If some of you guys like to color, we'll have that out next, probably sometime this month or next month. And then the other thing is, if you are looking for a way to connect with somebody, DM me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation, and let's see if maybe I might be able to guide you to get you to that next level as well. So, there's definitely no shortage of information. There's no shortage of coaches. And by the way, just so you know, I'm completely financially free. I am one of the best people you want to talk to, because I don't need to sell you anything. I don't need anything from you. I just want to help you. I want to see you get to that next level. So let's have a conversation if you need something. And if there's something I can ever do for you, please reach out. We're here for you. Michael, man, thank you so much for all of your time, everything you do, all the inspiration that you put out in the world. Your financial freedom is selling the dream like crazy. And that's what people are looking for. And we need you, man. So with that said, everybody, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it. But most importantly, do it now. God bless. We'll see you at the top.